sure you're respecting this question. Do you have any comments? And just briefly, please.
Well, first of all, I'm the candidate that the Union Tribune fears the most. The editor was quoted as saying, "We got to keep Filner out of the runoff because he's going to win in November." Why do they so fear me? Because they know I'm not going to be part of the establishment. I've won 25 elections in San Diego. I've never been endorsed by the Union Tribune. They're my moral compass. If they say one thing, I'll do the right thing. So it's not unusual that we're attacked. But I think both Nathan and I, are in a very difficult mayor's race, right? If we weren't here tonight because we were voting in Washington or Sacramento, you would say, why aren't they here? And I think we have taken the steps to protect our constituents and what our jobs are as, in my case, as a congressman. I have almost 35 people who work for me. They're all working. They're all making sure every constituent is served. They're making sure I'm at meetings, either by teleconference or in person. I have not missed, in terms of recording my vote, one vote. I have not cast the vote in the Congress, but for every vote, you know where I stand. I put a yes or no at the time of the vote, and it's all, so anytime, if my vote was needed on a crucial matter, I would be in Washington. But it turns out, most votes aren't. They're decided by one party or the other. And I have my vote recorded on every single item. We make sure of that. So we're trying to, I'm trying to keep my job as congressman in terms of serving my constituents, meeting with people I need to meet with, making sure my constituents know where I stand. On the other hand, we're running to be the chief executive of the 8th biggest city. As I said earlier in answer, I think I could do more for my constituents by solving the issues of homelessness, solving the issue of jobs, getting this pension mess off the table, than one of the 435 congressmen. We made that decision, so now we have to implement it.
Nathan, you know the question.
Yeah, same question. See, and you probably read the 5th or 6th story about this issue as released to me in tomorrow's paper, because today it was kind of funny. Carl DeMaio was getting quite desperate. Showed up outside my office, my state office, and he said, "Fletcher never goes to work." We said, but ironically, I was in my office working. And they came in afterwards, and I said, "This represents a clear difference between Carl DeMaio, who thinks showing up for work is doing a press conference and making an inaccurate political attack. I think showing up for work means getting things done." And on Monday, you saw a glimmer of good news in Governor Brown's budget, and that the implementation of Chelsea's law, which has been threatened in January, was removed. And that was done through regular conversations with the governor, with the speaker, with the president pro tem of the Senate, with Democrats and Republicans, where we worked tirelessly to get it done. We have legislation that's advancing to reform failed aspects of state government that we're authoring. We have legislation that we're working on to help streamline the permitting process, to make sure green technology permits are installed, to make sure it's easier to put solar on the roof. And my constituents know I show up every single day to work hard for what's in their best interest. And I'm happy to put my record of accomplishment, passing legislation that was actually passed and signed into law related to health care, related to regulatory environment, related to transparency in the pension system, related to tax reform, pushing for political transparency. I'll put my record up against all the candidates in the race, and then the public can weigh in and view. Because this is a real conversation about our records, but also about our vision, our ability to work with people to get things done, and how we go moving forward. Much to say, none of the votes would have affected. And just one point too, it's kind of funny because you see those stats in TV ads from tomorrow, and they say how many days you missed. And it's ironic because they're counting days in Sacramento where there were no votes and no committees. And had I been there those days, you'd be watching a television ad that said Nathan Fletcher wasted taxpayer money to fly to Sacramento when nothing was happening. So part of this is just the silly season of campaigns. Part of it is the reality of the situation we're in. But I hope people will view us on our records and wait until.
I'm not going to rebut, but Nathan reminded me of something that I should have said earlier. Thank you, Nathan. We're still introducing legislation. Just yesterday, in fact, we introduced a bill which has been reformed, a terrible practice. We have active duty servicemen in Iraq and Afghanistan, and we praise Nathan for his service as a Marine. Banks are foreclosing on them while they are in active duty. It should never happen. Thank you. And we have legislation. There is laws that stop this, but they're weak and they're not rigidly enforced. So we have legislation that says you cannot do this, you will get really tough fines. You have to establish an 800 number at any bank for our armed forces to call, and you simply cannot foreclose for at least a year after their discharge on a active duty service.
Thank you, Bob. All right, Nathan, you're back.